Hi, everybody, and welcome to English for You. I'm Pat.
And I'm Elsie.
And today we're going to be looking at an issue related to jobs. Now, at some point, you might realize, I don't want the job I'm doing anymore. I have to quit. Have you ever quit a job? In fact, how many jobs have you quit?
Of course, I've quit jobs. And how many? Only 2.
Only 2?
Right.
Okay. I'm a little older. I've quit 5, I think. Mostly they're all in the same way. I decide, okay, that's it. I've had enough. I'm going to go and talk to my boss, my manager, and say, that's it. You know, this is why I'm quitting. How about you?
For me, I used to work at this private elementary school.
Okay.
It was way too stressful, and I had to deal with parents. So I just
Parents
quit.
are the worst. I'm a parent, I know.
I quit the job 6 months after I got it. I started it.
That wasn't too long. Yeah, there was a couple of jobs. One job I had, I was working in a kind of factory. It was very physical, very hard physical work. And in the end, I thought, this is not the kind of job I want to have. It's just too much kind of working with hands and back, and it's painful. And I'm so tired, I don't do anything in my free time except sleep. So yeah, I gave that one up. It just wasn't working out. However, what we're going to look at today is people who don't really like their jobs all that much, but don't quit them.
Okay.
Let's find out more about this idea.
Reading. Quiet quitting. Is it the answer? Your boss has an endless list of things for you to do. You're answering phone calls and emails all day and night, even on weekends. You're stressed, but you need your job to pay your bills. Finally, you end up coping through quiet quitting. Quiet quitting is not about quitting a job. It's about working only within defined work hours and doing only what a job requires and nothing more. Those who support quiet quitting believe it improves your health and work-life balance. It helps you avoid burnout by setting clear boundaries between your work life and home life. Of course, there are downsides. Quiet quitting can lower your sense of engagement with your job, providing a lower sense of achievement. Employers will notice that you're not putting in the same effort as before. You may not move up the corporate ladder and gain a higher rank in the company. Where is your boundary between work and personal life? At the end of the day, it's up to each person to decide for themselves how to keep their work and private lives apart.
So we're going to start off by describing a situation here. It says, your boss has an endless list of things for you to do. Well, yeah, that's work. It's not like a video game. You finish work. I beat work. Hooray. Where's my big top score and prize? No, you do tend to have an endless amount of things to do. However, normally, you don't have all that stuff to do all at once. You can save some. Now, what do we mean by endless? Well, if you're looking at it very, very literally, it means without an end. If you think of like the sky, the universe, it doesn't have a real end. But often when we're just talking more casually, endless just means very big. It's massive. Yes, there might be an end, but you'll probably never actually reach it.
没错 endless 这个形容词就是无穷的、无尽的。那你在字尾看到 less 结尾的时候啊，你会发现它的意思是无点点点或是没有点点点。那常接在名词的后面，像是 endless 这个字，你在前面看到 end， 好，这个名词代表就是结束、终止。那再来还有像是 job 工作，那 jobless 那就是没有工作的。home 加 homeless 那就是没有家的。Hope 希望，那 hopeless 就是没有希望的。所以这篇课文说到的是，我们总是会有无止境的待办事项清单。There are endless things for you to do at work.
At work. And here's more of the situation. You're answering phone calls and emails all day and night, even on weekends.
Okay, does that happen to you?
No, this doesn't seem like it's a nice job at all.
这个有点夸张了，你整天都在接电话、收 emails， 连假日也是如此哦。然后文章继续说啊 ，You are stressed, but you need your job to pay your bills.
Of course, it would be lovely if we could just spend every day doing exactly what we wanted and didn't have to worry about working, making money, paying for the food you eat, the place you live, the electricity you use. So obviously this is a really difficult situation and a lot of people will be in it. I don't really like this job. It's very stressful. But what am I going to do? I owe money. I need money to pay for things. So, what's the answer? The article says, finally, you end up coping through quiet quitting. And we use those inverted commas there because this is what this practice is called. It's kind of come up over the last few years. It's a phrase that you might see if you're online. But it does help people to cope. To cope with something is to get through something difficult. You might not be 100% successful, and it's definitely not ideal. You don't make the problem completely go away, but by coping, you are at least surviving. You can get up every day, do what you need to do.
Cope 这个动词呢是应付或是处理，那通常它会搭配介系词 with， 像是 cope with the problem， 那就是 deal with the problem， 应付处理某个问题。不过这边呢，我们看到 through 这个介系词代表是透过，所以压力过大的你会透过 quiet quitting 来应付这个问题。
So to understand this term, we have to look at the verb to quit. To quit means to stop, to give up, to say, I've had enough, this is too difficult or not interesting, I'm going to stop doing it. Specifically in this case, we're using quit to mean leave a job. When you go to your boss and say, sorry boss, I'm leaving, I'll leave in 2 weeks or 1 month, or if it's a certain kind of job, that's it, I've had enough, I'm not even coming back in tomorrow. You might say, for example, Paul quit his job to go traveling for a year.
Quit 在课文当中啊，指的是离开某个工作，哈，辞去某个工作。那它的三态是同形的 ，quit quit quit， 要特别小心。那我们在课文当中看到 quitting， 它是作为动名词的用法。So what does quiet quitting mean? We know quitting now.
Yeah, quitting would just be telling your boss, that's it, I'm leaving, I've had enough.
Yes.
But what is quiet quitting? The article explains, quiet quitting is not about quitting a job. It's not like you just leave quietly and don't tell anyone. No, you actually stay in the job.
Okay, 所以 quiet quitting 它不是真的辞职。And the article says it's about working only within defined work hours and doing only what a job requires and nothing more.
Okay, so what does this idea mean? Working only within defined hours, meaning if your contract says you start at 9 and finish at 6, that is all you work. You don't come in early, you don't stay late, you don't do anything after work or on weekends.
是的 ，defined 在这边形容的是规定的，所以是在规定的上班时间内工作 ，and doing only what a job requires.
Yeah, that's another part of it, and let's understand this by looking at the verb require. So if something requires something, it needs it, it demands it, it has to have this thing. Now we could use it to mean in general, people require air, water, food, plants require sunlight, that kind of thing. But we can also use it in a more official way with a contract. Like according to the contract, you are required to do these things at work. You are required to pay your rent on this day. We can also use require when we talk about laws. Children in cars are required to sit in special seats. People are required to wear seatbelts. And here's another example. People who ride motorcycles are required to wear helmets. They need to do it. It's the law.
Require 这个动词呢，代表要求、规定。那课文说的就是啊，你做分内该做的事，那不多做其他的。
Okay, so why do this? Why just kind of show up at your job and do only what you need to do, nothing more? Well, let's look at the article again. It says those people, those who support quiet quitting, believe it improves your health and work-life balance.
Work-life balance 指的是生活和工作间的平衡 It's very important.
Yeah, you need to have a life. You need to have hobbies, free time, relaxing time, fun.
And
Okay.
of course, health is very important too.
That's right. What other ways does quiet quitting help?
OK, 所以文章接下来说 It helps you avoid burnout by setting clear boundaries between your work life and home life.
Okay, so this idea of burnout is getting so tired by doing something so much, so often, doing it so hard, that you've completely lost the energy and the desire to do it. Now, it could be a work thing. You've just been working really hard and you're like, that's it. I'm burned out. All my fuel, my energy is gone. It's been used up like when a car is out of gas. You could also suffer from burnout when you're just doing your own projects. You might go, that's it. I need to step back and take a rest. This is using up all my time, my thoughts. You can say burnout, all one word as a noun, or you can say I'm burned out with ed, with a sort of adjective.
我们在课文里面看到 burnout 是一个字，然后当名词用代表精疲力竭。那如果你要把它当动词片语用，就把 burn 跟 out 分开就可以了。
Exactly. So you avoid burnout, you make sure you don't lose all your energy and your desire, and you create a boundary between work and home life. A boundary is a border, some kind of dividing line between two places, two things, and so on. And often it's a boundary that says things on this side are okay, things on this side are not okay. Or it could be, this is my work time, this is my free time. Don't cross this line. These two are clearly separate.
Boundary 指的就是界限跟范围，所以在工作跟生活之间要 set clear boundaries， 界定清楚的界限。
So this sounds great, right? This go, okay, I'm
this idea.
quiet quitting. I just go to my job, I do my stuff, it's not so stressful. However, as the article says, of course, there are downsides. The word downside is the same as disadvantage. It's something that's not good about a situation. The opposite of be advantage or upside, or also benefit.
没错，所以 downside 或者是 disadvantage 指的就是缺点。
So what are the downsides of quiet quitting? The article says quiet quitting can lower your sense of engagement with your job, providing a lower sense of achievement. So let's look at the first idea here. You've got lower engagement. Your engagement is a connection to something. The feeling that you are involved with a particular activity, it's interesting to you, you kind of enjoy doing it. So if you've got lower engagement with your job, you kind of feel, I'm not that interested in it. It doesn't bring me a lot of joy or passion. I don't really look forward to going in and doing a few things or seeing people. It's like we're kind of drifting apart. So here's an example of how we can use engagement in a sentence. Books with shorter chapters tend to create more engagement with the readers as they feel they're reading quickly and want to find out what happens next.
Engagement 这个名词代表参与感、关注。Engagement with something 那就是对某事物的关注跟参与感。所以这篇课文在说的是 quiet quitting 宁静辞职可能会减低你对工作的参与感 and you might have a lower sense of achievement too.
That's right. So you won't be engaged with your job. You won't feel like it's an interesting thing you do, a part of your life that's quite good. You'll just be like, it's what I have to do in the day. I'm not that interested. And you'll have a lower sense of achievement. Achievement is the feeling of having successfully done something good and worthwhile. If you tried hard and you got this thing, you go, yes, I did it. I have achievement. I have achieved, that's the verb form, this thing. So you might say, Kelly felt a great sense of achievement after she got a new personal best in the running race. But if you've got low achievement, then even when you do something good at work, you'll be like,
Achievement 这个名词呢，代表成就或是成绩。A sense of achievement， 那就是你的成就感。所以在工作上，成就感是很重要的。那动词形式呢是 achieve， 像是 achieve your goal， 那就是达成你的目标。
Okay, so those are a couple of downsides. Your work won't feel interesting, and even when you've done something good at work, you won't really feel that excited by it. And here's another downside. Employers will notice that you're not putting in the same effort as before. So your boss will be like, you don't seem to be trying that hard. So to put something in means to contribute something, to add something. When we talk about putting in effort, we mean trying. We mean actually doing some work and trying to make it as good as possible. If you're not putting in any effort, you're just going, I'll do it and it will be done and it will be okay, but not that good.
Putting something 代表是投入时间或是努力，那这边接的是 effort 这个字，好，就是努力的意思。那雇主可能会发现你没有投入一样的努力。
So this has an effect on what you can do in your job. The article says you may not move up the corporate ladder and gain a higher rank in the company. So yeah, you're basically not going to become the big boss if you don't put in any effort, or you won't even become a manager or get a pay raise. You won't move up. To move up is just to move to a higher position. When we talk about work, we mean getting promoted, moving up to manager, team leader, department head, those kinds of things.
Move up 那就是晋升或是往上爬，这边要 move up the corporate ladder. What is it?
Well, this corporate ladder, a ladder is obviously something you just climb step by step. Corporate means to do with companies, businesses, work, that kind of thing. So the corporate ladder is this kind of slow climbing up to the positions in a company, going higher and higher. You become a manager, a senior manager, executive vice president, and then maybe one day you could even be the CEO.
没错，所以 corporate 是公司 ladder 就是我们知道的梯子 move up 或者是 climb the corporate ladder 那就是在公司一步一步的升迁向上爬
Yeah, and to do that, when you do that, you move up in rank. Let's look at that word. Your rank is your position in some kind of company or organization or group that has higher and lower levels. We could talk about ranks in the army. You start out as a private soldier and you could become a sergeant or a captain or a general. Those are higher ranks. In a company, you've got worker, you've got team leader, you've got senior managers. These are different ranks. We could also talk about ranking things about how good they are. Some universities have a high rank, which means everybody thinks they're great, students want to go there, their degrees mean a lot. Other universities have a slightly lower rank. So we could say this university has a high rank in this country. Many people want to go there.
Rank 这个名词呢，在课文当中当职位来解释，那我们可以用 high 或是 low 来形容。所以刚刚 Pat 的例句说到 has a high rank， 那就是有高的级别排名。那再来课文说到的 gain a higher rank in the company， 那就是在公司晋升到较高的职位。
So you guys are students, and this is not something that will kind of face you yet, but it's a question you might have to answer later in life. It's where is your boundary between work and personal life?
The boundary between A and B 两者之间的界限。好，你可以想一下你的学校生活跟你的一般的生活中间的界限是什么？那最后呢，课文说到 At the end of the day, it's up to each person to decide for themselves how to keep their work and private lives apart.
Yeah, this phrase, at the end of the day, is a way to say in the end. It's a sentence or a phrase you can use to conclude something when you've considered everything else, you've thought about this, and then you go, all right, I've thought about it. At the end of the day, when everything has been thought of, this is my judgment.
也就是到头来总之的意思。
And we say at the end of the day, it's up to each person. If something is up to someone, it's that person's decision. If it's up to me, I make the choice. If it's up to Elsie, she does.
Be up to somebody 由某人决定。Okay, so for example, it's up to you to decide where to go on our next trip. 由你决定下次旅程要去哪。
Yeah, and it's up to you how you can keep your work and family life or business life or whatever lives apart. apart means the same as separate, to kind of keep them in their own little box and space, and ideally, there's not too much crossover and one thing doesn't really affect the other in a bad way. For example, you could say the family lived apart because of work and school, with some members in the US and others in Taiwan.
Apart 这个副词代表分开地或是隔开地。So how to keep your work and private lives apart? 要怎么将生活和工作分开呢？ It's up to you.
Yeah, there are different ways. Some people will do some things, some people will do other things. What will work for somebody won't work for another, and quiet quitting might work for some people. But again, not for everyone. And we're going to discuss that idea in today's For You Chat question.
You chat.
So our question is, what is your opinion of quiet quitters? Are they right or just lazy?
I don't think they're lazy, but I won't say they're right. I think they're okay. So it's not a bad idea, and it's good to set the boundaries at work.
Yeah, definitely.
They're still finishing jobs,
Right.
work.
Yeah, now if your response to if you're going to quiet quit because your boss is making you answer calls and do work outside of your work hours, that's a problem with your boss and your company, and they shouldn't actually be doing it.
Right.
It's probably against the law. So if you're in that kind of situation, then you need to that's a different situation. Do something about that. Complain, find out, is this actually legal? Am I required by law to work? And if the boss says, oh, you answer your phone calls at midnight or you're fired, you go, well, you can't do that. That's illegal.
Right, so you need to do more than quiet quitting.
Yeah. Now, in another situation, you might be working in a company, you think, I don't want to be a manager. I do not wish to rise up the corporate ladder. Or maybe in the company you're at, there's no chance of doing that. You know, the manager positions are full. It doesn't look as though it will change. Not everybody wants to be a manager. So you might go, okay, in that case, I'm happy just earning my money, doing my job. I don't want any stress, and I get to live my life. I know a lot of people in that position. They're right to be like that. It's going to be up to you. If that's the kind of life you want, if you live to work and you're really into something and you want to make a career, do that. If you work to live, you just do your job, get paid, and use your money to have a nice life, also fine. But I don't think quiet quitting is what you do when it's like serious abusive work thing. And you should just actually quit.
Right.
Okay.
So it's all up to that person
and
to decide.
It does depend on the different situation, because some ways you might say, oh, this is quiet quitting. Like, no, that's just normal work.
Yeah.
It's just actually doing what most people do. It's not quiet quitting. It's just you've gone, that's my ambition. I don't need that, but I do want an ambition for personal stuff, so I'll focus on that. But that's all the time we have. Thanks for watching, everybody. For English for You, I'm Pat.
I'm Elsie.
And we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Vocabulary Review.
Quit. Tiffany quit the basketball team so that she could join the art club. Require. Mark's rent contract requires him to pay the rent on the first day of every month. Engagement. The students really enjoyed that activity. Their level of engagement was really high. Achievement. The soccer player's greatest achievement was scoring more goals than anyone else in a season. Rank. Ryan and Mary both work at AMC, but since Mary is a manager, her rank is higher. Apart. Make sure Daphne and Tim sit apart when we have dinner, or they'll start a fight.
智慧小补帖
Cope. Burnout. Boundary. Downside. Corporate ladder.
以上节目是由活用空中美语制作，活用空中美语杂志，请洽询全国各大书店。如欲索取试听教材，请来电02-2364-4000 02-2364-4000，或上网查询，网址是 www.english4u.net www.english4u.net